So hello there everyone, and welcome to this video with me here today. And once again, I am by the white waters, needing to replenish after a very turbulent and very intense week. So physical challenges keep dropping about, and as you know, it's all a part of preventing our ascension. It's not going to happen, but I'm not saying that this is the easiest time for us. But today specifically, I want to talk about true Illumined teachings and true Illumined Ascension versus the depth of deception. So I want to start with something that happened this week. I want to tell you again as my own personal experience, because in this last few videos that I'm going to make here during the summer, is that I want to stress the importance of the ascension journey. And I mean the actual steps of ascension, because everything around this time for me is about ascension. My guidance, information I'm receiving, it's time, it's all lining up, and basically it's what I have to start talking about. But I will go a little deeper back into, again, reminding you that the darkness always works to, if not in any other possible way, you know, what it does with us is, as you know now, we still have this animal problem and nothing worked. We had only one person coming, and that was a very, very hollow individual that we know from the past. But because we were so desperate in that moment, and I kind of foresaw what's going to happen through that person, the Luciferian consciousness just brought us more chaos, confusion, and distraction into our life. So basically, the next day we had to spend a whole day cleaning, and it was such a mess. You know, I literally got glue, and like this animal glue all over my hair. And in the moment, I just knew, because when you're in those energies, you know, these are not divine energies. Spirit of paranoia, spirit of confusion, the spirit of distraction, the spirit of chaos, it's all of the dark. It's not a divine energy, right? And we have to learn now to see, especially those of you who are also on the path of ascending, that the more you go deeper into this journey, the more you're going to get not just attacked, but the final stages when you're coming into your mastery is not so much about attack, it's more about distraction. And towards the end, when I was asking questions to my Lumen Ascension team, what would actually be the last cause of preventing this ascension, and they told me physical distractions, and that's exactly what's happening. So I had to realize that the animals themselves are not negative energy or problem, but they're a nuisance, right? So the moment you're trying to solve it and there's not a lot of help or people around, and when you act out of despair or desperation, right? So you're bringing into your home and your environment people that can be very, very low in consciousness. Sometimes even hollow individuals who, as I often tell you, these people exist. I've met them a lot in the side. They're actually slaves to Lucifer. They're not people. They don't have what we call embodied soul consciousness. Unfortunately, not a lot of people know this. And they think, well, it's just people who are deeply asleep. Well, you know, the kind of level of sleep that these people have is enslavement, okay? So it's very interesting when I see something like that playing out. It's like a final test and initiation for me to see where am I still allowing darkness to enter my life because of a nuisance or a distraction, or I can't figure something out, so I'm going to bring in an energy that's very, very much beneath me, that can't serve me and will never serve me. Because in the end, when that energy came into our home, it caused nothing but further mess and chaos. It didn't help with anything. We didn't solve any problems. So that caused us to go much, much deeper. But what happened, and before I start with today's topic, which will also be a lot about actual knowledge that I've channeled today here by the beautiful waters, I want to tell you something that happened on the same day. So that was last week. The day was actually pretty good. And I realized that in spite of all the situation, we were very much protected because nothing worse happened, but it caused me to be in this constant looping mentally, like worry, the thoughts of worrying. And that caused my body to kind of almost become overly exhausted. So they were telling me today that when you function on such a minimal amount of life force, that sometimes it happens to me due to these distractions and stressful circumstances, right? They're all created, they're all hoax, right? The body kind of falls into this hyperventilation state, and the body can't naturally heal, the body can't cultivate. I don't know how many people actually are aware here, but we need to do constant life force cultivation. Without that, there is no higher intelligence, there is no higher life force. There's only further and further deprivation of our natural birthright, that is organic life force of source, of God's intelligence, okay? So what happened on the day, we went to the Chalk Lake, and it was a funny situation because the water was so warm and I wanted to take a swim. So I asked this person there, because the water felt strangely warm, and I asked them, what's the matter here, because this was a very cold mini lake. And the person says to me, well, it's actually very much a dry spell, so there's no kind of stream coming through, and the water was super warm, so I just took a swim. And then somehow randomly we started talking, and it was a very interesting and also bizarre occurrence, because you don't happen to meet someone during the day, somewhere in nature, and end up having this conversation about the great hoax, deception, Satanism, Luciferian agenda, the fallen deception of this world, who really governs this world, all of it, right? It just came out, it came out also through sharing the problems and challenges. And I was seeing how all the people who started really, really waking up, they're not in that sovereign I am intelligence yet, but they're really waking up to the distraction and corruption of this world. And we're not talking about the governments, we're talking about that which is an overarching hand, the archonic system, the gridded system that is basically lock-in zone, like ziplock, and control, like total control. And then we end up talking about like how deep this deception goes, and we ended up really, the person shared with us that since the last 3 years they also started studying the Bible, because they weren't aware before, and now they see how many truths are actually written there if you read it in the correct manner. As you know, I never read it myself, but what I do know and what I've shown before is that there's certain things you can't and will not find in the Bible, which is organic life force intelligence teachings, how to actually ascend. Because there's many things that tell you about the law, who really governs this world. You have to know, this is a fallen world. This is not a divine world. It was in the beginning of its creation, of its conception. But remember, in the previous video, I uncovered a deep prophecy that God gave to all true devoted illumined beings, and how all these fallen ones were destroying our creations in the first place since eons and eons of time, and all the cycles of creation were very much similar in that matter. And this world also was once a world created by purity of Elohim creation, of the principles of life. However, this system here, that later it was not a world, it's a system, right? It's a lawless system. And when we talk about law here, it's all draconian law. It's not immaculate law of God and the holy Elohim who serve the great Godhead, right? The Trinity of life. And this basically became a locked-in, imprisoned system that just, as I've shared before, it locks in also the true angelic, star-born souls, soul beings, light beings. And it's become ever more increasing phenomena. And many have been trying to come here with good intentions and rescue missions and many things like that, with beautiful, benevolent intentions. And yet, so many have succumbed to the corruption and the beastly nature of this realm. It's not even what I was shown, it's not even a realm. And this is what we ended up talking about with this person. They said, this is not even a world, and all these theories about the planet, how it's actually a flat creation. And, there's so many theories now. And I don't see it exactly like that. I see it as I'm shown through my Illumined counterparts, my Illumined team. But it's not even so much the issue here. The issue is that, and even all this new age guruism and all of that, teaching people, no, know thyself. There's only the now. There's nothing outside of you. It's all an illusion. The world is an illusion. Everything like that is based to keep you away from not just knowing yourself, but you also need to know the world. You need to know the world you're living in. Because if you don't know the world you're living in, you're not knowing the rules. You don't know who governs the world. And many times I see innocent beings who, when I just talk randomly to people, they would tell me, yeah, it's just what the earth is about. We need to do the toil here. We need to do our service work here. For some reason, we're here, and it's karmic and all of, different things that people just believe. And it's so deeply ingrained within them. It's so indoctrinated. They don't even believe they have a choice. And we've talked about it, right? Most people, even the most loyal servant to the divine, even the most loyal Bible reader, thumper, I don't know, they still are not aware of the truth that you are a free sovereign being, that you can go wherever you want to go. But first you have to know the law and how to move yourself around, and what is actually the true organic intelligence that still exists in this universe that propels the golden spiral motion right forth. And that the Christ is not just a principle that's in our mind and it's something we have deep at the back of the recesses of our mind and we associate with someone that walked the plane as Jesus the Christ, but it's a field of consciousness that generates life force in a specific way that is natural to God, that is a domain of God, of Godhead, of the divine and all its divine servants. And so there was even one topic coming up just towards the end, when the person said, in the Bible, it says that man is beyond or above angels because, it's created through the likeness and image of God. And even that can be so falsely interpreted because you have to know in the universal scheme of things that is not some creation above the other. But we're not really talking about man, right? We're talking about the humanoid form. Because the humanoid form was always created through, the implication of free will, which means as God is sovereignly putting out the will and many of its divine servants and creation angels serving God, it's also the humanoid types of creation that have been given that same will, and you can either use it to create or destroy, which is in itself very powerful, right? And this is why we have all this good and evil since forever. But what's modern now in the great guruism, and I'm not even calling it great, as you know, this is meant sarcastically, and I'm not even usually sarcastic in my nature. And in the New Age, it's all said, no, what only matters is the now. It's all but the now. And you would say to someone, but all this evil is there and it exists. And they would say, no, it's just whether you think about it, the evil will be there. If you don't think about it, it won't be there, People who say, they would answer a specific, let's say a question that's very serious in nature. There was something that came up during our conversation with this person. They said that someone very famous, enforcer of this draconian teachings and who are the reptiles and all of that, was once asked a question whether the earth is flat or round. And they said, well, whether you have a red button, you press it like this, and you have a blue button, you press it like that. I don't know. The person told me that. I really wouldn't know whether that's true or not. But if you look at the nature of things, how sometimes people who don't know, they really don't know, they try to avoid the dire circumstances, and instead of saying, a pure being would always tell you, I don't know, I really don't know, I have a belief, but I don't know. And that's the difference of a pure being versus someone who's giving you something through their intellect and something that they're able to access, at this point of their awareness. And so they would say, well, it's all relative, right? It's all relative. And yet it's not, right? The world is as it is. And the basis of Guruism and also the modern New Age teachings is that it's all relative. It's all like how you project it on the outside of you and all this secret and all that. You have to know that the stamp that is there on the, the great S with the red marking, like it's on wax. What I was shown through my Lumen counterparts is that literally it shows the word S for satanic, and it's a blood, like it's imprinted, sealed with blood. And that Satanism is, all that they're doing is often sealed with the blood of the innocent. Most often also with the blood of the Christ. And the blood of the Christ is the purest when you're still a child and you're innocent and you don't yet get imprinted by the madness of this world. And yet the indoctrination begins when you were all born. It happens at birth, when you get that birth certificate and it says, well, we own you for the rest of your life. And even when you go, you have to recycle yourself back here and serve us. And until you find out that this is not a free breathing, lungs kind of open realm, you're free to leave at any time, you're free to come, it's all pure and it's all divine. It's an enclosed system, and it's kind of like I said, it's a hologram, and it's like a lid cover on top of it. And until people really think that's not just a myth and it's not just a story and it's not just, ooh, I'm giving you this because I've read it somewhere. No, I know these things for a fact, and I was shown these things and I experienced these things through transgression, revelation, my own work, my pain unfolding, you know, all that I've shared with you throughout these last 3 years of my life. Literally the last 3 years, you know, of my life. And it hasn't been easy, but facts are facts. And you can't say, well, it's all relative. If you think about it, it exists. If you don't, then it doesn't. That's the biggest lie you were ever told. You know, just like the Christians say, the biggest lie that the devil ever made you believe was that she doesn't exist, and it's not the truth, right? And so the inception goes so deep that you don't even know what this world truly is, how it was first created, and how it was hijacked and incepted. This realm was a realm, but it was hijacked. We're living on a hijacked system that became an enclosed system that's lawless, that's based on wickedness and deception. Everything that was, you know, all the land, you know, when, let's say, specific nations have said, we've claimed this land in the name of who knows what and what where. But it was all created and it was all taken through violence, through spilling of the blood, corrupting the systems, and literally spilling over the blood of the Christ, which means the blood of the innocent, the blood of the pure, the blood of the immaculate. That's what Christ is. It's not just a word, my dears. It's a principle of life. You either know it, you are with it, you have embodied it, or you don't. And so there's many beings who come here and really speak the truth. Not just like, you know, when Guru would tell you, you know how many gurus speak beautiful words and they have massive followings, and all the people that I've told you before that do like, yeah. And they're all in trance, but tell me please, if all these gurus with millions of followers, if they're really speaking the truth, then why are people still asleep? Why is our planet still under the dominion of the hand of Lucifer, whatever you call it, feminine, masculine counterpart? Of the first fallen creation angel that took many with it. And it became an entire black hole of just sucking the life force of everything that is pure and incepting all the beautiful creations, because just like I read you the prophecy in the previous video, it can't create anymore on its own. It doesn't have the law. It's banned from the kingdoms of heaven, which literally means the kingdoms of creation. And so until people really realize, and I haven't gotten this knowledge through the Bible, my knowledge is way deeper, it goes beyond what the Bible has inside. I don't know the details and the stories and who lived here and which prophets all existed. And many people who've read the Bible said, all these prophets were saying the same things. Well, yeah, because God showed them, and they were thus divine. They were able to write these words in scriptures. They were able to translate divine visions into written word, into written record. And the reason why they were able, because probably they were sent here for that purpose, but also doing the inner work, and many of them were like isolated or, you know, just really focused on that. And they were devotees. But even, you know, even devotees in human forms have often limited capacities. You know, all the knowledge was not given because it wasn't yet time to be given, you know. And so you have many great things explained there and many great parables, but also you need consciousness and to really be open to know how to read it. But yes, a lot is there. And most people don't have the time. Right now, we don't have time anymore. We're not in the time zone, in a cycle of life where we can study scriptures that are miles and miles long. So that's why Illumined beings, and especially my Illumined team, we're here on this. We've been here on this planet, if we can even call it that. Sometimes I don't even really want to call it a planet anymore, right? Have been giving a shortcut to this understanding because, as I've said, time is running out for people to start at the beginning. We're not there anymore. 2,000 years since the holiness has been sent here, and it spoke the truth in the Christ principle. After a very long sleep and a very dark period, what happened instead was an even darker period, and now we're in the darkest times. But the most often reason for not us seeing it, right, is because it's all becoming so energetically subtle. It's all a manipulation that's energetic. And now with these enforced laws, and we've talked about this with the person, right, how now they have plans, it's like monthly plans, how to infect even more millions and millions of people with different kinds of flus and, you know, animal so-called extractions of viruses that are basically lab produced. And it's all written, it's out there in the open for people who want to know it. And people who study and get the data, they have the data. And now people are going to succumb to this quiet stillness before the storm and think, well, nothing is really happening. The restrictions have ended. You know, it's been like this before. Don't fall for the same nonsense. And I've been telling you, because I've often asked my team, I said, were you wrong? Because you said it's going to get worse and worse. They're like, no. But what people don't see, because they're looking at the obvious, they're looking at the state of the condition, they're not reading the energies. And the energy I've been feeling for quite a while now is just the energy that wants to push us out of this labyrinth, maze, and a hologram. And why these subtle manipulations have gone all the way to very advanced energetic weaponry, as I've shared, and holograms, and subtle manipulation, especially in the hologram part of the astral zone, when you often enter it through your sleep. It's so that we would believe these things, but they're nothing but images shown to us. And let me tell you something, there's a difference between a guru and a master, because a guru will tell you beautiful things, words that resound with divinity, blah, blah, on and on. But a master will tell you the facts. Facts are about truth. Truth is facts, not fiction. And I know we sometimes need beautiful words, and I often, when I do prayer and when I do invocation and when I do more advanced, like deep in work, I also use beautiful words, because of course, that's where God resides, in the beauty, in the pure, and the beauty and the purity of life. And yet the messiness also has to be brought up to the surface, the darkness. And I've met people who, even though they've been studying spirituality and for my opinion, in all the wrong places and corners of what they call spiritual. It's not even spiritual in most cases, because even when we talked about it with this person, it's like the manipulation is that deep that you think someone is trying to get you something beautiful and show you something or heal you or whatever. And in the end, even they have not been awoke, truly awoke, because any guru or a New Age teacher or whoever is not telling you what this realm is truly about, and they're not mentioning the words, not just, oh yeah, evil. They're saying that doesn't exist, only God is real. There's only love and light, nothing else exists. They're pulling your chains. They're not true teachers of Illumined awareness. Jesus spoke about everything. He spoke about it. It's all there. It's not just, oh yeah, forgiveness and all these things and compassion he was teaching about. No, it's all there. He talked about demons. He talked about angels. He talked about all the things. And yet we so often forget, because we get so busy in our modern lives and we haven't really done the groundwork. And I've talked about how true mastery is not just, oh, I'm getting excited about things, but then I drop it in the first instance of getting distracted by the physical notions of this life, because it's all more lucrative. You know, in the end, you have to know that even nature, as beautiful as it is, it's like, I see nature as the last corners of divinity in this realm. It's not even a realm, like I said. It's an enclosed system, right? An enclosed, lawless system of complete and total control. All based on agendas, and it's all created through spilling of the blood of the innocent, right? Which is the Christ, as I've explained. But you have to know that eventually you really have to wake up. Sorry, I lost my train of thought because I have so much in my mind that I want to translate to today. But if people are not telling you facts, they're not true teachers. And they're not meant to be teaching, but they're put there. And this system goes so deep. And it's those who you think that have the best of intentions, because they sound so innocent, and so they often don't. Because whoever was also critical, and whoever also told you what this world is really about, was the one that was not afraid to speak the truth. And we have to know something. Those of us who have been, because we were sent here on that purpose specifically, we've been so brave, because every time in this enclosed lawless system, it's not based on rewards. When someone who provokes the intelligence of the Antichrist speaks words of truth, they get attacked and they get punished. I was like this for years. My life wasn't peachy, wasn't easy, because I really walked the path of the true integrity and sovereignty of Christ, which means I have to talk about it all. I cannot let let one corner of this be unturned or turned over. I have to put it all out there. And because I was so brave, I was attacked, I was persecuted, I was punished. All the time. Still happening, right? And it doesn't look like that because many people tell me, you make it look so easy, and yet it's not. It's not. But let me tell you, the only thing that really matters in this universe is integrity. Integrity of truth, which is, as I've said, the key to the opening of the true love. You can't have, and you have all these people talking about love. What love will you have without truth? And like I said, there's people who are, they don't want to hear the difficult things, you know. There was someone who visited me, and me and my mother, we were telling them about different stalkers and psychos and people like men who were out to get me throughout the years. And you know, they were like, I need to get away. I can't listen to this anymore. It's too much. Really? It's too much, but it's happening. There's people who literally are not mature enough to face the facts. They're not real. They want to keep themselves in a shackled illusion, and they stay a baby. They stay an infant. They never really grow up. Their consciousness is not a matured, masterful consciousness. And especially people who go to gurus and they tell them beautiful things about how it's all about being the now, forget about the worries. And each time they feel uncomfortable and they want to go to a guru and let them tell them this, will be the same thing. Oh, just forget about it all. I'm not saying we have to be worried about the state of the condition of this realm, the world, however, whatever you call it. Our current temporary station, where we're located now, physical bodies are here. I'm just saying that we have to be really, really discerning and aware. And for that, it's not just enough to know thyself. You also have to know everything about the nature of God and what God is. And the moment you know God, you truly know God, not, God is full of light. When you really know God, how God creates, how impeccable God is in its righteous laws, and the nature that rewards us, that beautifies life, that wants to move life towards its highest potential and expansion and evolution and growth and love and partnership and community. And by really, really knowing God from within yourself, you also know what God is not. And by seeing these things, you know, when people tell you things like, oh, everything you emanate out, you're going to get back. So people believe that when bad things happen to people, it's all just self-created. Not in this realm, my dears, not in this world. Because there's so many people suffering, and you might say, well, karma is a bitch, my dear. That's what New Agers say. Yes, a lot is karmic, and once you're part of karma, you can't stop spinning, there you are. But you also have to know there's a lot of innocent beings here who just don't have the awareness, they just don't have the knowledge. They're very young individuals, and according to their soul lineages or lifetimes, in their experience, they're still young. And they fall for this. Oh, I must have been bad for having this happen to me. You know, only someone who's good and kind in their heart would think, I must be bad, so this is happening to me. Someone who's pure evil never thinks of themselves as bad. They're the best creator in this universe. They're better than God. That's what darkness is like. Okay, so you have to be so discerning, and I'm not going to talk about all the levels of deception. We've talked about it here, and each being and each group of beings who was here had a specific mission of their own intelligence. Our was specific related to this transgression work and the attacks on our bodies and the Star Children. That was very much specifically close to us, because also my team in Aurea, they're masters of physical ascension and understanding the principles of the golden spiral of the Christ. That's why I was able to translate our teachings and put them there on Patreon for people who want to do the work. There's 7 sacred spiral teachings you can use. But today, besides everything I've talked about in general, I want to start with something more deeper that I've channeled today, which is all of this deception created so people will never ever even access that which is not even spiritual. The world itself sometimes makes me sick, to be honest. Spirit is spirit. Everyone is of spirit. I call it the consciousness of life. I don't call it, oh, I work in the field of spirituality. No one works in the field of spirituality. What is that even? There's no label. Life is life. And our specific brand of intelligence with me and my Lumen group is focused on these laws of ascension that are primordial. They're ancient, they're for everyone. They've always been there, but they've been hidden. They've been hijacked. They've been, you know, hidden from plain sight for people to not even come across. They're nowhere, but they're here now. And I've been talking about this for years, and the cultivation work, and how our little templates and our beingness, our light beings, and our light bodies even have been manipulated. So today, I want to tell you some of these things. I wanted to also talk about some things that they were telling me about my ascension journey, but I don't feel it's yet time. These are some things they told me about ascension specifically, but I'm going to actually talk about it in the next video because I plan to do another mini retreat. I need to enter this state of really replenishing my body, and I will actually try to create that video there specifically devoted to Lumen Ascension and also the descent of true counterparts, which I already mentioned. So I'm gonna leave that for then, okay, because it is all about ascension. But how to get to that point, what actually started this, what created this opening, right? I told you that a while ago I really started to feel that our time as a group is coming. I always knew that I would be done when our mission work is done. I'd be leaving and I'd be going to the state we call homecoming. So they've been giving me lots of information now, and I've been just really longing for that. But today I don't want to go so deep, but yesterday when I received a lot of information which was relevant to me, but I feel it's also important to share. But today I don't want to go so much into what they were showing me for this ascension, but I want to tell you that they told me yesterday when I had a really hard time. We went to visit this beautiful hillside area, and we visited the people we stayed with in 2020. We lived you know, downstairs with these people in the hills, really nice people we met there, and we went for a visit, and it's like revisiting past, and yet it was something I needed to, it's like everything in my life was like, okay, I need to access something here, I need to gather something there, and it was all like, you know, let's collect something, right? So today, well, yesterday when we were there at these there's specific energy points there, like healing points, and they were telling me there, they said, we would never fail you, our queen. And they were telling me how the true ascension is, and it has its laws. So they were showing me specific things about ascension that I didn't know yet. I was hoping, and they said there's specific things that are not yet fully revealed, and I'm going to talk about it more in the next video. But there's something they said that ascension is like comprising of who we are, you know, so it's who we are. What got us here will be that same thing that will ascend us. And so in this last few days, I got the information that I myself, as I am, as Polona, Aurea, and what I'm capable of performing now through my body, and my channels are purified, and my gateways are established, and all, it's cool, they said. But they said they need more time, and I was really kind of frustrated a bit because I was like, oh no, my time is now. I want this to happen as soon as possible, right? Because I'm really looking forward to it. It's like I'm almost halfway there, like I'm 1 foot there. I feel like in this past few weeks I haven't really been focused so much on anymore. I'm just winding up, tying up loose ends, and I'm really like 1 foot already there. So that's why all the information I'm receiving is already about ascension, and I'll go deeper in the next video. But they said that our ascension will be like the winged ones, right, who are the creation angels and the crew is them, right? Aurea is the crew. So they told me that they said this ascension feels like an entire quest. It's a voyage, they said. And it's a gathering of refined intelligence that creates a fellowship. They said it's also a combination of my Lumen, or our Lumen human child, the beloved through tantric union, the beloved counterpart descent, and Starship galactic pulsar of light Lumen organic technology. because it's not just individual person. Like they said, for me, they said I'm completely capable, they said, of consciously leaving my body when it's time. But they said this is about something else, and I'll talk about this more in the next video. But they gave me this guidance. They said no one who is ready gets left behind. The time for the collecting has come. And this is when I actually created an opening, and they gave me a new message. They said the turnover point is near. And then they said that what this means, the time of collecting. I saw them like they're collecting, they're studying who is now really viable, who's ready, who's done the work, because they will assist these beings. And I'll tell you more how and when. But they said the reaping harvest time, from their perspective, from the Illumined counterpart perspective, is the harvest time before the soul harvesting, they said, that has been planned by Dark Lords for the angelic star children in the hologram reality. And then they started talking about this hologram reality being actually a pentagram. But before I explain this, I want to go to the next message they gave me, because then I want to finish and end with the final crescendo. They gave me later a message because I dozed off a bit in my hammock, and then they gave me a message. They said the final transgression is yet to be completed. And what is the final transgression, right? It's the preventing of our ascension, of our Lumen Ascension, right? Like all the work, they said, gateways, all, like they said, physically speaking, like I would be now, as the human Polona Aurea, at my own will, be able to leave my body, they said. They said it's about the blending, it's about the holistic experience of ascension that they're only now starting to show me, but they can't tell me the details and the facts in entirety yet, and this is why. That was their message for today. We have waited strategically in terms of finding the best location spots, that they call it like being in the right place in the right time. I think that is what it means, for our homecoming. We know and are fully aware when and how the Dark Ones will try to harness the life force of the starborn children, and that has to do with the hologram reality, right? But they must not know of our plans and locations. That is why we're keeping quiet, and you yourself also don't know. But no worries, as everything will be revealed in divine timing. Yes, it will be soon, but more than that exactly, we must not say. We can only testify that they don't know of our plans and our ways. Even if so, that's the best part, they are far too advanced in terms of proximity to God, so our plans, right? For them, as the Dark Ones, to be aware of it. Their current level of consciousness can only pick up a limited amount within a very limited framework, and that is that. So you can trust us and what we're trying to convey here. God has a plan since the very beginning, and it is perfect and immaculate. And so it is, and so it shall be. Aurus. And this is where it gets interesting, because I thought actually that ascension, physical ascension, was, you leave your body and that's that. But they were starting to indicate to me that it's not just that, because but they said we need to, when masters have been saying that how they take the body with them, right? And it's not something that you yourself, as a human, like a random human, can know and how to do. This is something that advanced beings actually do, and this is why they said they need more time. They said, you're ready to leave, yes, but they said we need more time. Because in the next video, I'm going to show you the drawings I did. These drawings are based on my memories. These are star memories, and they show me that. So it was interesting, because all this channeling began when my mom was really worried, because she thought, well, I don't have that knowledge, I'm not gonna go. So one day they were doing healing work on me, right? My beautiful Illumined team, they're just amazing, right? They always tell me, we'd never fail you, our queen, we'd never fail you. And they were doing the healing, and then at the same time, I said to my mom, Florentina, I said to her, well, call Jesus, just ask him to confirm that finally you stop worrying, because you can't really ascend if you're gonna always be worried that you're gonna be left behind. And even Jesus said to her, don't worry or fear, we, brothers and sisters of Illumined Light, who are one, will not leave you to these beasts here on this plane of existence. Jesus himself said, leave you to these beasts. And many of these beasts, people think, well, they're the ones that are very much vying for you. They have your interest. They have your best interest at heart. No, they don't. They're selfish, greedy, and rebellious in nature. And they don't care about anything, especially not ascension. Because for them, do you know what a Lumen Ascension in this lifetime? I'm not just talking about what Jesus created in the zero timeline back then. Because that was just before they started inventing and implementing the hologram. It took 2,000 years, right, for them to... It's not something you do overnight. Even these advanced beings, right? It's an era, right? And so, I'm talking about our Lumen Ascension in this time. I told you, Jesus said there were no Lumen Ascensions after me. But I've opened up the first gate. He did the preceding, the pre-work that was, I told you, Lumen beings all function as one. And all lifetimes are continuations. Not just dark incarnations, also illumined embodiments. And what this means is that why dark ones now, the Dark Lords, don't want this ascension to occur, because it's gonna bring this huge burst of pulling out all that was stuck in this enclosed system of lawlessness and wickedness, right? And what this means, it's going to pull out all the stubborn children, because that's who they're vying to, hoping to harvest, right? We talk about soul harvesting, and you can't harvest a soul that's not there. They're not interested in their replicas, in the holograms. Like hollow people, they exist. Trust me, they exist. Their lives are very low. They're not aware of zero divinity within them. They're slaves. They're recycled, like people call them, I've heard, I don't know this term, but people call them, they're like organic portals, right? They're little bodies for when darkness needs them. It uses them to get a means across. And I've experienced this last week, right? And I knew it, but I had to have one last try with this, right? And so the reason why Aurea said, but we need more time, give us just a little more time, they said, it's because it's also a collective unfolding of our Lumen beings and our group, all as one. And specifically, we're just one facet, right? So I kept getting the word Arcturus for the past few weeks. And it's nothing new to me. I know what Aurus is of Arcturus, which is high advanced organic intelligence. I've never actually talked about the revelations I got back in 2019, which was my Cosmic Christ course to be, but then transgression happened and I never ended up recording that course. And all the ancient history that they gave me as a trajectory of how Lumen intelligence traveled through this universe. They said after the Great Orion Wars, Arcturus was the only place of peace. And that's where we ended up, and we created a legacy there. We created a fellowship, and it's all there written. I have to locate it somewhere, maybe one day, if I have the time before the time, comes, to read it out loud to those who want to hear it. And they've shown me that's when they've created this fellowship. So they said it all began with the fellowship. It also ends with the fellowship, right? It's this ascension feels like an entire quest or a voyage. So it's not just, okay, my will, I'm ready now. They said you can be ready, but the whole of us, the entire plan needs to be ready, because it's all a part of this golden spiral, right? So they show me that the ascension will have to do with few specific things that are in the mix. I'm gonna reveal more and gonna show you the drawings in the next video, but the drawing there that I'll show you it has all the answers, because it's a vision I saw, right? Meeting my beloved counterpart, and then they came across the ocean and they were pulsars, and I drew them in a specific way. So I asked, what happens then with the bodies? And they said, we put the body into the pod. Remember when I talk about Lumen beings have these light pods, and within the pod they are using the galactic pulsar, which is a strong, those of you who were with me on Patreon back then, I did a mini course on the pulsar technology. That's an organic light technology. And all the Lumen beings, if they want to travel this universe and go on missions, they need that. You don't need for yourself, but you need it for your travels, and they have it. They are it. It's not something that they own, it's they are that. So they talked about how this then, the amplification of particles will then accelerate the density of the body and elevate the body and literally change or alchemize the body. Because they showed us that the body also must not stay on the earth, because, you know, again, it ends up with the beasts. The body, especially of all beings who are pure ones, sacred ones, holy ones, even star ones, their bodies must be left intact. And they said we can't really trust on earth with all that's happening for these bodies to remain intact. Because even if your life force goes, your spirit goes, and you go back into your true body, like I'm already an illumined being, I have my own illumined body already. But the physical body still has an emanation of your consciousness, which you put into every cell of this body. And it has an emanation even after these, like of a holy person, you know, when they say their body was full of light. Because these bodies, when the holy being was there with their divinity fully returned to the body or brought to the body was still emanating. It was an emanating body. But they said at this point, and this is why many people say, well, these bodies of these masters who've ascended, actually, you know, these were advanced beings. And now they talked about also finding the right exit point out of the hologram, and this is what I believe the gateway is. And this is where they gave me the important teachings for ascension. So as I've explained, as they've explained, all of us, right, the dark ones are planning a soul harvesting of the true royal lineage family. And they said, right, we know their plans, but they don't know ours. This is what they were saying. And so this is when they gave me the true original immaculate knowing of ascension. They said, for all the angelic star children, right, in the hologram reality, which is called a pentagram. This is a pentagram reality. You know, when you have worship of the Satan, which is a reverse pentagram with the horns, right, looking out, that's what it is. And you know, when the elves in the Lord of the Rings and many other, I think it was elsewhere too, they talked about the septagram, right, the 7-pointed star, the elven star. You know, there's even pendants, and you can trace the lines of the 7-pointed star, and it's actually a geometry of light. And a lot of people don't know that, but the reason why we say you ascend through your own soul star, I'm going to show you the drawing in the next video when I'm going to talk about the journey of ascension, right? It's like the soul star is that pentagram, and they septagram. And they said the septagram is the true and original prism of life. Remember, I told you, you ascend through your own prism of life and project into your own true home space. But they said, again, I will repeat, the septagram is the true and original prism of life for the Illumined humanoid form, right? There's also other forms. But for the Illumined humanoid form of creation, which is angelic creation, which is human as an angel self, that design, right, is immaculate one. A pentagram is a distorted draconian or a fallen Luciferian creation of the human form, which is called also the reversed Venus, right? Just put the pentagram around, you know how the satanic people worship that. So the reverse pentagram is of the horns of the devil, which is the hijacked and incepted human form. They talk about not just as it's something you worship, it's not just a symbol, my dears. It's how they reverse the body forms to fall and to no longer be angelic. So when you say, ooh, the human is a divine creature, yeah, but not a human based on the pentagram. And this is how the Luciferian consciousness has been distorting and reversing the true immaculate plan. When I told you, I read you from the previous prophecy I got, right? They were reversing our illumined forms of life and intelligences that creation angels serving God were creating. So they reversed them, and what happened here on earth is you were told that this density and this how you are in your configuration, your blueprint is divine, and yet it's not. So the reason why they talked about Arcturus, and I know this is where I'm going, you know, this is where we're headed once we pass the hologram of the sun. Everyone entering this place here has to move through the sun first, through the portal of the sun. So that they said Arcturus holds that form, which is septagram, in immaculate design in its entirety. So this is why they told me in 2019 that that's the only realm where we came when no darkness was invaded. Remember, they talked about the true organic realm. And I know the New Age is very corrupt and it has half truths that are not really truths. But there's something I think, and I believe in one of the New Age teachings, which also indicates that the Arcturians are actually the true ascension, the next platform of ascension teachings. They're the true ascension guides. And no one else, actually. Because the humanoid form only exists in its immaculate state. You know, there's many other constellations and star systems with the humanoid forms, right? There's many reptilian forms. There's even like a bug creature, like a mantis or something. I don't know. There's so many forms, like dozens. But the most close to God, like it even says in the Bible, when it says men, it doesn't mean human on earth. It means humanoid form, my dears. Humanoid form is the one that is as God's. But because of the nature of free will, right, it could also destroy. And when dark inception came and it lured these creations into the fallen nature, it deceived them, right, which is the apple of deception, the great betrayal, right, of the garden, is they did not always follow through with what God has created them with or how it created them. So in Arcturus, in that we're talking about Illumined Arcturus, not the physical components, but I don't even think when people talk about physical Arcturians, like creatures, like ETs, I don't even think that relates to what I'm saying here at all. It has nothing to do with it. So we're talking about the illumined, fully ascended realm, and that they're in Arcturus, they're the only ones who hold this form, septagram, in entirety, which means the entire realm has shifted. Elsewhere, in the star systems here, in this galaxy, there are still remnants of these distortions, and Earth is not the only one having this experience. So this is why they said Arcturus holds that form in the immaculate design in its entirety. You will have no one channeling that. They're the only illumined ones who tell you this. So satanic, Luciferian worship is actually the worship of reversed pentagram, which many people who are here probably already know, right? And the reason why they worship it is not just because it's a symbol that belongs to Lucifer. It's how the form of the consciousness was reversed. And the distortion already happened when there was a fall on Venus, right? Remember, Mars, Venus, Earth is a trinity of, let's just call them places of this experiment, when it just ended in a specific way or abruptly, but then life forms were translated here, and now here it's happening. Here is when the great duality is playing out, and when the great God's prophecy of God's reversal plan is occurring. So the last thing I want to share here is the drawing they gave me, what the pods are. They said Arcturians, that illumined pulsar consciousness, the way we ascend our bodies and the way we ascend ourselves is by using these light pods and pulsars. So they show me this dynamic. I hope you can see it here. And what it means is actually, I'm just going to read it from here. So we have a pod. It looks like this, right? We have a seed of illumined light in between. We have the womb consciousness holding it like this. We have the golden spiral of Christ moving through. We have both gateways open up and above, like the pure prism of life. This is the prism of life they talked about, and it's all in my 7 sacred ascension teachings of the golden spiral. So this is a pod, and through it goes the golden Christ spiral. The pods have pulsar organic technology, which means you literally are translated there, and this is what ascends the body physically as well. Not just you leave this body physically with your consciousness, but it also alters the state of this physical body. So they said these pods, they gather in density right from here, from the below, and then they filter it, and with the pulsar emanation, which is, you can't imagine the acceleration of particles that the pulsar looks like, right? So then the density comes out in a crystallized photonic way. And what this symbolizes, right, is the womb, the tantric consciousness, and what people call the 3D moving to 5D. It's the biggest hoax you will ever find. They said it means nothing. They said a Lumen Ascension, I'm going to read you that as well. A Lumen Ascension is basically 7 density self, which is true angelic self, which is the first emanation from the 9 density avatar self. So your 9 density self, Your monadic avatar self emanates the first density of your original immaculate individuality, an individual creation of God, individual angelic self. And when people tell you will ascend into 5D, that's not ascension. 5D in itself is a hoax. It's not a realm of illumination. It's still controlled. There's still darkness there. Whatever you will read it with some people who had the true teachings. I think in Aurea's books, when you have densities explained, you also have like 5D and the realm of Illuminati, and that's where they are. You might think, well, no, 5D is for very advanced beings. No, my dears. It's where they want you to be. And many of the great star children who have great gifts and power, they want them to turn over to their side. So when you're looking into this, right, this sphere of reality, which is a true immaculate Lumen Ascension teachings, is when they come and it's the time for our unified ascension, when they use these Illumined light body protocols of Illumined intelligence, is that this is like literally a pod. It looks like a crystalline prism of light. In the middle is the seed of life. Each one of us has that seed. It's your original creation spiral, who you are. It rests in the golden womb of the mother, with the golden spiral moving through and through. And that golden spiral, when it's your time, because it's been gradually accelerating you and uplifting you through your gradual ascending process. But ascending and ascension, as I've said, they're two things. We're gradually ascending, and at a specific point, ascension comes. And at that point, the golden light will really be used through the pulsar, organic propulsion of particles of that light through the photonic prism of light will really increase those particles, and it will literally configure the body that we now know holds this density. Most of you who believe, well, we are 3D, no. Most of us who are aware of these things and we're very intelligent, you know, they would say, okay, you're already 5D, but it's not the final stop. It's not where you want to be if you want to really ascend. You can go and have many realms of this experience. But it's not the same as ascension. And this is why I'm saying this, because a lot of people say ascension is from 3D to 5D. It's not the truth. Ascension is the return to your true immaculate God-created angel self. And that's 7th density, which is the first emanation of your 9th density avatar self. This organic Lumen light technology, and otherwise I wouldn't be sharing these things. I'll be talking about them on Patreon. But the reason why I'm doing it is because time, and it's also my time to leave, and it's really fast approaching. And we've done our work. So this is where you can see that the light is moving and it's going out through both gateways. You have the upper and the lower. So here it's gathering that light, it's gathering density, and through this propulsion, the pulsar and the golden spiral of the mother of the Christ, and then it's like emanating it out in an altered state. And this will be happening when the bodies will be put by our Lumen light teams into these pods. And it's not a sci-fi, it's not mechanical. It's how God creates. God uses very simple principles, right? And that's the reason why I've been sharing the teachings that no one has brought before. Why they're bringing them now? Because now is the time. Do you want the soul harvesting, or do you want to reap what you've harvested for yourself? Because there's a difference, right? Because when there's soul harvesting, someone will harvest you. And you having your harvest is you having your own ascendant experience. And it's not going to be for everyone and not all in the same cycle. But they say those that are ready, they said no one will be left behind, but they need some more time. So that's for today. Contemplate on the whole septagram notions, because it's very important. It's how our truly, you know, how we truly are. And they said this movement will look through, it will move through the Merkaba, right? This is the 6-pointed star, the Star of David, and then return with that into the septagram, which is even higher form, right? So that's what they say. The Christ is always explained as the Christ begins at the 6th density, right? Which is also known as the Merkaba, right? The 6-point star. But the Christ puts you, by knowing the Christ, knowing yourself as a principle, not just as a teaching, but a life principle, knowing what the Christ is, And by using this Merkaba, which is completely neutralized polarity, masculine, feminine, illumined, feminine, masculine Christ, that's what Merkaba means. That's true union, not meeting someone and saying, that's my twin flame. One of the biggest distortions ever, because you're always waiting for someone and they're never ready. Also Luciferian in nature, keeps you stuck in the endless waiting game. Ascension is for you. If you have a counterpart and you're both doing this work, great for you. But they're still an individual, my dears. They're still going to go through their own ascension. You're not going to ascend together as a one, you know, as a one being. You are that individual, full self, whole self. You are the twin soul, right? That is the dynamic within you. But when we as higher beings and intelligences, when we form counterparts, we form them because, like I said, God grows through the merging of beings, coming into unions, coupledoms, but in an illumined way. So yeah, the final message again, the turnover point is near. I think it's going to be one of the biggest hoaxes from our side to the dark side. And I'm going to say it's intense now. I think when you're near towards that final exit point, right? The last transgression to be dealt with is, you know, there can be an ascension and there will be ascension. So they said that still has to be performed, and that's now in the works, and that's the reason why it's tense. It's so warm this summer. It's so hot, even in the Alps. It's not usual. It's really meaning things are heating up. And so I will end this video for my device to not heat up. I hope you've enjoyed it. Those of you who want to join me on Patreon for now, I don't know like how long I can do the work there as well. But there's lots of content there. I've recently shared my own ascension experience as they showed it to me. But I will also do one video here to show you the drawings and explain a little about the counterpart ascension and how. And so when you have a visual, it will be easier for you to have that when your time comes, you know, those of you who would actually be ready. Otherwise, that's that, my sweet beloveds. I wish you so many beautiful moments with awareness, not drifting off into that which is not really important, but to go deep within where we are now and realize what are we being misled to? Why now such a huge effort to distract us from this not happening? We have to be so alert and conscious with every moment right now with ourselves. So I'm going to end with these words, and as always, so much love is in power. I'll see you in the next video, and blessings to all. May there be life. Glory of God. Bye for now. Welcome into